you with it, drop it.
Everybody, welcome to Yashna. You are here because, like me, you want to be better every single day and live a healthy, happy, and fulfilling life. Our goal on this channel is to introduce you to the incredible people, inspiring ideas, and practical tips and techniques which can help you to execute on your own dream. Public speaking skills is one of the key skills which can help you to succeed. And today we have a special guest, Shiraz, to join us. He's a stand-up comedian and actor, and I cannot wait to learn from him how to increase our public speaking skills and confidence, whether we are on a stage or communicating with others or building a good connections or even pitching investors. And I needed to learn these skills. So please help me welcoming Shiraz.
Hi.
Are you always good at public speaking, or you developed?
It was more a case of I didn't want to do what I was doing. I wanted to do something interesting and fun. So I had done public speaking before earlier in my life, but it's a completely different thing. If you're doing stand-up, you're out there trying to get a reaction, trying to make people laugh, all that kind of thing. So it's very different from just doing a speech or just talking about a factual subject, but the principles are kind of the same. And if you can do stand-up, you can do public speaking. It makes any kind of public speaking a lot easier. I'm not recommending you should do stand-up because for some people it's quite traumatizing.
I see.
But it also strengthens your kind of character to be able to speak to people and do stuff. So what you see sometimes is people who are really bad at stand-up comedy, but then they're quite good at public speaking because they learn some skills from that.
How you can manage to be very confident and also natural and very innovative in front of a lot of people?
I mean, the reality is it just comes from practice and doing lots of gigs and being, quite bad a lot of the time, because you have to sort of work through a period where you feel like, oh, I'm not very good at this, but I'm gonna tweak this aspect. Part of it comes from memorizing your stuff, whatever it is. If you can memorize your stuff, that in part gives you confidence because now you know this information. But when you're, any kind of speech, if you watch any of the kind of speeches that you like, for example, I saw this Matthew McConaughey, who's an actor, I don't know if you know him. Anyway, he did this graduate speech, and it was a good speech because he was engaging, and it was like he was speaking to that person, like I'm speaking to you now. That's kind of how you want to angle your speech. You want to speak to a crowd, which sounds like an oxymoron, but you want to speak to this crowd of however many people as if you're speaking to one person. It's when you watch like a stand-up or anyone, they're kind of engaging the whole room. They're moving around, they're working the room. They're just looking and trying to get, you're not necessarily making eye contact with an individual, but you are scanning the room. So people feel you're engaged, you're not missing anyone out. And then when you're talking to them, you're getting it into a natural flow, but that only comes from doing lots of them over a period of time.
Yeah, it makes sense. The more you do, the more you're good at it, and the more confidence comes naturally.
Yeah,
right?
it's like any skill. Like any skill, yeah.
So, so at the beginning, were you also remembering your script? And so how was it like at the beginning?
People work differently. A lot of the time I would have an idea, I'd talk about that idea, I would try to develop jokes from it, and then it was sort of a mix of memorizing some text and then on the spot, because inevitably you get some of that text wrong, you forget things, but you might find that the words that you give by accident are actually the natural words. So you could apply that to a speech as well. You might have a paragraph of some dialogue of the thing you want to say, and let's say you do it in front of a small crowd for your practice, and you might forget some of those words and replace it with other words, but those might be better words. From my point of view, what I'm trying to do is get a balance between the thing that I've written, which is what I want to say, and then my natural way of speaking. Because if you can use your own language and a natural way of speaking, then you'll remember it, because that's how you speak, like exactly like we're speaking now. So you would try and memorize it. Eventually you'd get to a point, after several iterations, you get to a point where you've got a balance between what you wrote, the message you want to say, and how you actually speak. And then that blend is what will give you a nice natural flow.
A lot of people might not have a chance to be a stand-up comedian. So how they can apply these kind of practices?
Yeah, I mean, I suppose that's a case of finding events which require you to organise them and to speak to groups of people. I think at its most basic level, getting a group of people where you've organised an event and you need to convey some instructions, that is probably your most basic level of group speech, because you're not trying to elicit any kind of reaction, you're just trying to convey information. Like if you organise an event and you are trying to tell people how it's run and what time it's finishing, all this kind of stuff, just basic information, black and white information. There's no emotional reaction attached to that. If you can organise your own events, then you can do your practice for your speeches. I know there's stuff out there that you can go on. They have these groups where people write about a subject and they've got to speak about it for like a minute or two, and then they can practice that way. Because I've seen these networking groups where you go and everyone has a minute to talk about what they do. That's your chance to practice.
That would be even better if they can do these kind of events, right? And I'm also very interested in knowing like how you use this skill in your daily life outside of work.
Yeah, so I have another career where I'm an IT contractor as well. So when I go in to get contracts, I'm basically pitching myself for this contract, which might be 6 months or 2 years, whatever it is. It helped me instantly to be able to just go into these kind of interview pitches and just put myself on the line. And it just became a very natural way of me to present myself for these contracts, just because I've been doing stand-up for so long. And even one contract I was at Google for a couple of years, and they had a summit, which is like a meeting where people come in from around the world to talk about stuff. And because they knew I was a stand-up, they asked me to present it. So I did. So it helped with that, and that was quite a cool experience. It was a bit more difficult because I had to be careful of my language and all that kind of thing, because it's corporate.
Yeah.
It's daytime, so you have to be careful with what you're saying. But still, having those skills allowed me to just go in and, a couple of weeks' notice and just be able to do that and just kind of wing it and just present the thing, because it was just informational. It was just presenting, and then just having a bit of personality to link all the sections together. I mean, even like if I go to networking events and all this kind of thing, especially when you're being British, we tend to be quite reserved. Sometimes it's difficult to insert yourself into conversations, but at networking events and other events where I have to perhaps tell a crowd of people who I am, what have I been doing, all that stuff is really easy. It's very easy now. It's just it doesn't really sort of phase you after a while. It would be like if you're doing a stand-up gig, then it's given that everything is very loose. You can use whatever language you like, as long as you are making the crowd laugh, you can say whatever you want. If you're at a corporate thing, you might have to rein it in and be a bit more, polite culture type of thing. You certainly got to be careful of different people being in the room. They're not expecting perhaps a certain sense of humour, so you've got to keep it quite mainstream, but you can still reflect your personality and make it interesting and engaging, so they see your personality.
Thank you so much. So in addition to being very natural and engaging and confident on the stage, I think having a good script or structure, at least, I think it's very important, right?
For most people, yeah. Not everyone works the same. If you've not done public speaking before, there's going to be a heavy element of fear. You're going to be scared. You're going to be scared to do it. And for all sorts of reasons. I think one of the big fears for people in general is the fear of failure and humiliation. We're so, as humans, because we're social, and it goes, there's a long thing behind that. So for some people, they might need just like something that gets them through that, like a script. But if that restricts you and you have to focus on this script, it's like you've got all this fear in you, and now you've got to worry about this script. So you're trying to concentrate on two things, and you're in front of these people. It's going to throw you. Sometimes you might have to just chuck that script away and just wing it a little bit. Just feel that looseness and that freedom.
I see. So for you, you don't rely on script, so you want to be more natural on the stage. But do you follow any structure? Like start from this, and I'm gonna talk about this, and then I will finish off this. Do you have this kind of structures?
I kind of do both. I'll write and I'll have a script, but I know just from doing it for 10, 12 years that I am going to forget a lot of this. When you do it your first time, you just forget it. So I just keep in mind like key points. If it's something I've been doing a while, then in my head there is a script, and I just, because I've done a certain bit of material for a while, and I know where everything falls. But if it's kind of stuff that I'm working out, maybe it's something new, maybe there's a new joke, then I'm going between stuff that I've memorized and then also just trying to get a feel for how I feel. And even your whole body makeup, your body language, how you stand, how you feel, what are you wearing, what are your shoes like? Like I find it really hard I never do stand up in anything but trainers, because I feel most comfortable in trainers. I need to feel comfortable.
Yeah.
And like jeans and a t-shirt generally. I've tried doing it in like a shirt and shoes. I feel very stiff.
So while just public speaking, you consider like your audience, what they want to hear about, and do you consider those?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, of course, yeah. If you're doing like, if it's a public speaking event, then yeah, you got to consider what you're there for, what you're talking about, what relevance it has. True of stand-up, you're trying to perhaps encapsulate something that is in the moment. But then, I don't know, sometimes if you just are pandering for an audience, it can be very fake and people can hear that. What you want is a genuine thought, I think, something you find interesting. Like, for example, I'm interested in AI. So I'll try and write jokes on it. I've been learning Japanese for about a year and a bit, and I went to Japan. So I've been writing jokes about that because I'm interested in it. So then I'm kind of making other people interested in what I'm interested in just by talking about it. Because then people want to know.
Very interesting. So you think this is a bit different than normal conversation? Because I think in a conversation, for example, I need to listen to you, but on the stage you cannot really listen to them. Yeah,
I mean, you can get a little bit of judgment because the audience feedback. I mean, if it's just a standard public speaking, then you will know what you're going to speak about. If it's something like stand up, then yeah, your audience reaction kind of can change what you're talking about on the spot, especially because if you're not kind of interested in your jokes, it's kind of failing.
Yeah. So how you can like keep that kind of high engagement and attention from your audience?
Okay, so there's stuff you can do with your voice. You can bring it down, you can come up, you can bring the energy up and down. So if you play with that energy, because if you have just one way of speaking, then it becomes very monotone eventually, and people just start tuning out. It's kind of like you're trying to, if you're having a conversation, then hopefully the person you're speaking to is listening to you, but you still might have to change that way you speak. Have you ever been speaking to someone and their voice is just kind of droning and it's boring? You must have had that.
Yeah.
We all have.
Yeah, I think, of course, I'm also like trying to change this because English is not my first language, right?
Yeah.
And it's a bit different if I use my own language. Okay. So I try to be more natural, and I want to make my voice more interesting to another person to listen to.
Okay.
So yeah, I still want to improve on this.
Yeah.
So what's your tip? Like, how I should practice or where I should start?
Yeah. So with you, because your language is Mandarin, is your mother tongue?
Mandarin, yes, I speak Mandarin, but I'm bilingual. I grew up speaking Uyghur and Mandarin.
Oh, right. That's cool. So there's two really interesting things there. So obviously you speak English. So if we were having a chat, you could then break into something. You could say, oh, you know what we say in my country? Like, have you got a Uyghur saying? Is there a saying in Uyghur, like a proverb that you know?
Proverb.
Like a proverb, a Uyghur proverb.
What kind of, sorry, what's proverb?
Like a saying, like a wise saying that everyone says. Like,
Okay. I need to use my own language for
yeah.
this. Of, belki içim sıkılıp gitti. For example, like
Okay, so you could be chatting and somehow you could crowbar that in. You could say, you know, whatever it is. Because if you start throwing in stuff from your language, that's really interesting. People won't have heard, firstly, no one speaks to a Uyghur. I've never met anyone in my life, and I bet you most people over here won't have either. But even if you use Chinese, which people know of Chinese, of course they do, if you start putting in little bits, and then you say, oh, in China, they say X, Y, Z, whatever it is, which means something. And then people will be really engaged because you've made it interesting for them. You've given them some bits of information they've not heard before. You can really use that to your advantage. And then you're back in English and then you're kind of dipping in and out.
Sure, thank you so much. Actually, it's a kind of advantage that I can bring some like joy in the conversation.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That's super cool. That's very good advice. Thank you so much for that. And I think in London especially, there are so many like international people. People are from different places, and that's the beauty of being in London. I love learning from people from different background. They have different voice, they have different dialect, different accent. And that makes actually the conversation more interesting as well.
Yes.
So, for example, if everyone adds some like more interesting stuff from their own language, the conversation probably would be even more interesting.
Yeah. What did that mean? What you just said in Uyghur? What did it mean in English?
Sorry, I shouldn't use that. I said. It's not nice. I said of means like, it's a kind of a way of describing yourself. It's not like you get tired of something or you are pissed off. Because you mentioned proverb and I was like, what should I put there? And then, for example, if there is a situation that I got tired of some stuff, and I feel a bit not nice from inside, and I would say, get bored or something like that.
Okay.
It doesn't mean I got bored at the moment. I was like,
you were looking for an example.
Yeah, looking for an example which can express more emotion.
Okay.
So I was like trying to find like emotional verb or some words.
So does it mean like, oh, I'm so sick of this? That kind of thing.
Yeah.
And what was the phrase?
Of belki içim sıkılıp gitti.
I can't say that. Of bekistin.
İçim
sıkılıp
gitti.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of people cannot pronounce it, so people would say probably skilip or something similar.
Yeah. That's
so
something
even my
so
name is like Muqaddas. It's like Qi, but people cannot pronounce Qi, so I would just say my name is Muqaddas.
Okay, you made it easy for the British. Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, that's interesting. So like, yeah, if I say my own language in this kind of context, probably I would more express myself and the voice would be more different.
Yes.
And if I try to apply this kind of voice or tone to the language that I'm speaking, it makes it more interesting.
Yeah, it's more interesting, stands out. Yeah, it's cool. And then you're kind of, you're using your personality to kind of put yourself out there more. People like that. It's always interesting, that kind of stuff.
Thank you so much. I feel like during our conversation, I become more natural, more relaxed.
Okay.
Because we talk about something I know. If I speak about my language or anything like that, probably I feel more natural, more relaxed. So that's also a way of making another person more comfortable during the conversation. And I think everyone is seeing now you have this kind of skills to make another person more comfortable. So for me, when I started the podcast or YouTube channel, it was not that easy for me to like talk for 10 minutes, 5 minutes. I need to do a lot of practices. And because I feel not confident enough at the beginning, but now I feel more confident to look at the camera, to speak more naturally. It's like I'm still like learning and developing and growing. So if I didn't step out from the comfort zone at the beginning, probably I wouldn't grow as well. Do you think this would, speaking in front of the camera, would help them to improve their public speaking skills?
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. If you've not done it before, it's not until you get in front of the camera you realise actually it's not as easy as that. Because, I mean, I do a lot of stuff on YouTube for my own comedy and stuff. I have stand-up clips out there, but I also do videos where I just kind of speak to the camera and I'm talking about stuff. And that speaking to the camera, so get your words right and enunciate things and express what you say, it's not the easiest thing in the world, because you'll mess up words that you would find, like in conversation, it's fine. But when you actually, it's just you and you're speaking in front of the camera, and if there's other people in the room listening, it's hard, man.
Yeah, it's hard. Yeah, and you want to make your like video more interesting, more engaging, and it's like takes a lot of effort. But yeah, it just takes time, and we need to do practice, man.
Practice, man.
Yeah.
Put yourself, if you're putting yourself in positions of discomfort all the time, eventually it has to break. You have to get more comfortable.
Yeah.
You can't not get more comfortable if you just keep doing it in gradual bits over the months, over the weeks.
Sure, definitely. I can speak from my experience, definitely. And thank you so much for sharing your stories and these practical tips. And basically, if I want to improve my public speaking skills, there are so many ways. So I can go to events and talk to in front of a bunch of people, or I can create my own events, and speaking in front of the camera might help as well. And we can start from relying on the script at the beginning and gradually move towards like structure or unstructured way of speaking. And if we make our script or a conversation more concise and also more engaging, it can help with convincing another person as well. And of course, I noticed that with the good public speaking skills, we can make another person or listener more comfortable, and they want to listen to us, and we can get our result. Whether it's talking to your management team, for your employees, or pitching investors, or you can make your conversation more engaging, more convincing, and get the actual results. So yeah, I always wanted to improve my public speaking skills. I've learned a lot of things. Thank you so much.
That's okay. Thanks for having me.
This. Of course, it's my pleasure. And yeah, if anyone is interested in your stand-up comedy or any film, where they can find you?
Oh, probably best my YouTube channel, I think. Which is youtube.com/screamdump, or Instagram even, which is just Shiraz Comedy. Either way, yeah.
Thank you so much, and see you next time. Bye for now. Bye bye.